whenever Mr. Ramanan should get started.
Yes, ma'am. We can start now. We are going live in. We can start now.
Sir, you're muted.
Good afternoon, everybody who have logged on today for the ICDK Water Challenge related panel discussion. This challenge has been launched some time ago in order to have all our young budding innovators, budding startups, as well as anybody who has got good ideas about how to address a problem that is very, very important to be addressed across the world, and that is water management. Smart water management is required not only in our urban cities, but also in our agricultural dominated country like India. We need to ensure that not only are we able to manage the water across those areas which are deprived of it, but it is going to be a serious problem not only for India, but for the rest of the world in the days ahead. And what with climate change and all of the other issues that are lurking in the horizon, it is very important for us to be able to apply our minds to this fundamental need of humanity, and that is to be able to manage water supply, not only from a drinking water perspective, but also from an irrigation perspective, from a waste perspective, from a reuse perspective, and for being able to store water very intelligently through rain harvesting and other mechanisms, so that this precious commodity that is available to us does not disappear over the years to come. And therefore, also this particular problem has acquired an important dimension in our relationship between India and Denmark, when both the prime ministers met and they decided to work together for a green world and a green economy. And this is something that was an automatic fallout of that particular very important historic meeting that took place, where it was decided that both the countries will collaborate. From an innovation point of view, our best minds in the countries of both India and Denmark will work together to address this problem, not only for our respective countries, but for the rest of the world. And therefore, this particular challenge was launched with the presence of the vice chairman of the NEERI Aayog, the ambassador of Denmark, and several other dignitaries present, who shared their importance and their views on this particular challenge that has to be resolved. The challenge is open both to young budding innovators who have great ideas to see how we can resolve these problems, what solutions they have, and also to startups who already have a solution and who would like to showcase their solution as a response to this challenge. And as a result of it, with all the applications that have been entered, we will be selecting the best of them to represent us during the finale event, which will be held in February, following which there will be an opportunity, if it is possible for people to travel, to demonstrate or showcase their solutions in the International Water Congress that's going to be held in Denmark in May of this year, where it is also expected that the prime ministers of the respective countries will be present. So this is an event that is being given great importance, great visibility to, not only by our by Athal Innovation Mission and the Danish embassy, but also by the highest levels of political will in both the countries. And therefore, I am very, very delighted today to have a very distinguished panel of people who are experts in this area to be able to deliberate and to talk about the importance of water management related to the water challenges that have been launched by Athal Innovation Mission and the Indo-Danish partners. We will have Professor Pennan Chinnasamy, Assistant Professor, Center for Technology Alternatives for Rural Areas, Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai, India, who will be moderating this panel discussion. Professor Pennan Chinnasamy is an assistant professor with IIT Bombay under the Center of Technology Alternatives for Rural Areas Department, where his work will primarily focus on water resources in rural regions. Over the past 8 years, Professor Pennan has experience working in NGOs, national and regional government agencies, and academic institutions, focusing on sustainable surface and groundwater management plans, climate change impacts, and hydrological simulation models. He obtained his master's degree in physics from Wesleyan University, CT, followed by a doctoral degree with a focus on hydrology from Missouri University in the United States of America. After his postdoc, he joined the International Water Management Institute as a researcher and was stationed in Nepal and the Indian offices. He then joined Nanyang Technological University in Singapore as a senior researcher developing real-time flood prediction models for the city-state. We are indeed privileged and delighted to have you, Professor Pennan, joining us today and leading the sessions. I'll just introduce briefly the other speakers, other panelists, esteemed panelists in this particular session today. We have with us Dr. Pawan Kumar, who is the Senior Principal Scientist and Head, Water Technology and Management Division in CSIR and NEERI, NEERI, which is the National Environment Engineering Research Institute. Dr. Pawan Kumar is the Senior Principal Scientist and the Head of the Water Technology and Management Division, CSIR. He is also the Chairman of the BIS Committee, Point of Use Purification Systems, the Head of the WHO Collaborating Center for Water and Sanitation, and is a member of WHO IAC. He has received multiple awards, including the PIA IWA Award, the NEERI ZAR Technology, the PIA IWA Solar Energy Based Electrolytic Defluoridation EDF Technology, the DST Lockheed Martin Innovation Growth Award, Solar Energy Based EDF Technology Award, and the Jal Nirmalata IWW Award for 2016-17. Dr. Pawan holds a PhD in Environmental Engineering from Rashtrasant Tukaji Maharaj Nagpur University. We are indeed privileged to have you, sir, with your very distinguished career and with the numerous awards that I just mentioned, but which are just a few of the ones which you have received.
Thanks for introduction.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan. We also are privileged to have Dr. Fawzia Tarannum, who is a PhD and an assistant professor from the TERI School of Advanced Studies. Dr. Fawzia is an assistant professor in the Department of Regional Water Studies at TERI School of Advanced Studies. Prior to joining TERI, she is an interdisciplinary water professional with 20 plus years of experience in project management, teaching, and training. She is an electrical engineer with diploma in management, and in 2013, she was awarded the University of Nairobi IDRC doctoral research grant for her PhD study. She was also awarded the Fulbright Herbert Humphrey Fellowship by the US State Department in 2017 and has spent a year in Cornell University to enhance her skills in interdisciplinary approach to water management. Her research interests are gender, equity, and water resources management, integrated water resources planning and management, water governance, and food water energy nexus. Thank you, Dr. Fawzia, for joining us today. Your illustrious career and your extensive experience is going to be of tremendous value to us in our discussions today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we are delighted to have Dr. Nandakumar, Nandakumar, who is the Chief Executive Officer, International Center for Clean Water, IIT Madras. Dr. Nandakumar is the CEO of the International Center in the Research Park of IIT Madras. He is an IIT Madras alumnus and has a PG DBM from XLRI. He has over 3 decades of experience in leading corporations like ITC, During his career, he worked in multiple roles and multiple businesses. He played a pivotal role in the turnaround of two of ITC's businesses. He was also responsible for creating a resilient outsourced manufacturing setup for the education and stationery business, an approach that was recognized among the top 3 best business practices of ITC. In June 2017, he left the corporate world to found Harmony Pro Solutions, a company focusing on leveraging the theory of constraints to help startups and MSMEs achieve rapid exponential growth. He is a trained facilitator for Lean, TPM, and Six Sigma, and is a certified instructor cum mentor for the Lean Startup methodology. Thank you, Dr. Nandakumar, for joining us today. Your experience, particularly in startups and mentoring and MSME, is going to be tremendously valuable to all the participants attending this call. And finally, we have Mr. Simon Applebat Thompson, Environment Counselor at the Royal Danish Embassy in New Delhi. Simon is an Environment Counselor at the Royal Danish Embassy. Before his present role, Simon has served as a policy analyst at OECD, where he was involved in projects such as 2019 Environmental Performance Review of Denmark. He has also served in the Ministry of Environment and Food in various capacities, most notably as Private Secretary to the Minister. Simon holds an MA degree in European Affairs from Sciences, PO and BA from the University of Copenhagen. So thank you, Simon, for joining us today and bringing us the international representation from Denmark and from the Royal Danish Embassy. And we are delighted to have you here today. So with this, I would like, Ishita, would you like to touch base upon the challenges, specific challenges that we have launched so that we are able to then proceed into the panel discussion?
Sure, sir. So there are 5 challenges that we have. There are 5 challenges that we have launched, and I'll just should I share my screen and show the list of challenges?
You can just read it out. No, it's not required to share the screen. Just so that the context is set properly.
Yes.
So as Ishita is opening the set of specific challenges that are being rolled out, I just want to share that this is one of several initiatives that Athar Innovation Mission has been executing over the last several years. For all those who are logged on to the call for the first time, Athar Innovation Mission has been set up by the Government of India to create and promote an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across the country of our country. And they're doing this by several interventions in a very holistic manner. At a school level, we have launched thousands of tinkering labs called Atal Tinkering Labs, which can stimulate a problem-solving, innovative mindset in our young school students between grade 6 to grade 12. At the university level, we are launching what are known as world-class Atal incubators, which will foster thousands of startups. To date, we have launched about 7,000 tinkering labs and 69 incubators. And these incubators have fostered over 1,600 startups over the last 3 years. Out of these, 500 are women-led startups. We are also launching what are known as Atal New India Challenges, which enable and stimulate product development in areas of national interest in the socio-economic sphere. These challenges are both for the MSME and startup community as early stage innovations, as well as advanced innovations which are prototyped, which are already have working prototypes and which need to be converted into commercially deployable products. Those are known as Atal New India Challenges. So ARISE challenges and the ENIC challenges. And in order to ensure that the benefits of innovation reach across to the rural masses, tier 2, tier 3 cities of India, we have been launching what are known as Atal Community Innovation Centers. We have launched 24 of them, which are going to be operationalized during this quarter. And this will enable community-centric innovations to be developed and driven across so that you can have local job creation and local innovation, which that particular community or the set of communities around that community innovation center need. And in order to support all of this, we have developed an extensive network of partnerships, not only with the individual mentors. We have more than 10,000 mentors who registered themselves on the Atal Innovation Mission Network as mentors of change. But we also now have close to about 5,000 of them allocated to Atal Tinkering Labs, and an equal number both directly from Atal Innovation Mission as well as by the incubators themselves of mentors associated with the startups of Atal Innovation Mission. So this is something that has really gained in momentum, and I do hope that people who are on this call realize that not only are we going to support the winners with the recognition that they deserve, but we are going to ensure that they will have a path for their idea and their innovation to become fruitful products or services. And these innovations will see the light of the day. And our hope is that these innovators will build their own organization or their companies, which can grow with the support of Atal Innovation Mission, the Danish Embassy, and all our corporate partners who are associated in this. So it is much more than just a hackathon or a challenge. It is more of creating your own organization from a social innovation perspective that's going to be supported by the entire network of Atal Innovation Mission, the Danish Embassy, network of partners, and other corporates who are very interested in supporting such initiatives for the benefit of the world. So with that, that hopefully sets the context of this challenge and the set of challenges that we are launching. And this is also going to be the beginning of a long-term relationship with the British government on multiple areas in all the areas that I talked about. So with that, Ishita, can you briefly talk on the challenges, and then we'll get on to the panel discussion.
Sure, sir. So in the challenges that we have launched, there are actually 5 challenge statements that are also given on our website. And today we are going to focus on 3 of them. So I'll just read out the names of all the 5. First one is about digital water management solutions. So, there are various tools like IoT, mobile, satellite, and sensor technologies that have proven to be effective tools in water management. So, through this challenge, what we are looking for is 2 kinds of solutions. One is for the government to help them. Solutions which help the government that can use the existing databases of water supply, water availability, groundwater, so on and so forth, and solutions that can design effective water governance and management for city level governance. And the second kind of solution is solutions for data governance platforms to allow a single point monitoring of supply and usage of water in cities. So this is for the governments, and for the citizens, we are inviting solutions towards creating a smart water household by informing them about the quantity and quality of water available from the nearest source. So the idea over here is to be able to use the latest technologies, the frontier technologies, to be able to improve upon the water management solutions. The next one is about solutions for monitoring and prevention of leakage in city water supply. So we all know that a lot of water, around, I think, estimated to be 40% of the piped water is lost to leakages. And therefore, the government is looking at 2 kinds of solutions yet again over here. One is monitoring, so solutions which are actively monitoring the leakage in drinking water, drinking and sewage water pipes. And second thing is solutions that can be retrofitted in existing water and sewage pipes to prevent leakage. The next challenge area is about wastewater management across rural belts as well as the urban settlements. So we all know that there has been a significant decrease in the per capita water supply in the country due to rising speed of urbanization and so on and so forth. And therefore, in this area, for this particular area, we are looking at solutions for innovative and low-cost management of grey water at source, as well as detection and prevention of drainage in the water bodies. The next area of challenges that we have is city rainwater harvesting in rural and urban settlements. So this is, of course, an area where a lot of solutions already exist in the market, and there are multiple devices as well as systems that are available. However, we need solutions which are able to improve upon the efficacy and the efficiency of the rainwater systems, and at the same time are able to be can be used in the rural areas as well as the urban areas. And finally, the last area of the challenge is about safe and sustained drinking water. So over here, we are inviting solutions for addressing the quality as well as the quantity of drinking water at city household level. So in terms of quality, we're looking at tech-enabled solutions for assessing the water quality, low-cost and efficient household water filtration solutions that can work with both the city pipe supply as well as groundwater. And on the other hand, we're also looking at solutions to address effective monitoring and control of groundwater extraction. So those are the 5 different areas that that are a part of the water challenges that have been launched by Atal Innovation Mission in partnership with the Innovation Center Denmark. And out of these 5 areas, we are going to focus on digital water management solutions, solutions for monitoring and prevention of leakage in the city water supply, and safe and sustainable drinking water. These 3 areas are the ones that we'll go into more detail now as we carry on the conversation with our panelists.
Thank you, Ishita, for outlining those 5 challenges. And so, without any more ado, let me ask Dr. Pennan Chinnasamy to take over proceeding and moderate the proceeding.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Ramanan. So to go about the first part of our presentation, I would like to call upon every panelist to spend spare 2 minutes on the topic and the challenge that is relevant to India, and then we'll try to sum it up so that the students and participants get a view of how to shape their challenge. So to talk about it, let's call upon. I'd like to call upon Pawan. No order, but I'm just going through the list. So if you could unmute yourself and give some options about the digital water solutions and other challenges that you think are more apt for our participants, please.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And I would like to talk a bit about digital water quality analysis tool. See, historically, we have been using say colorimetry techniques to determine water quality standard, in which we used to bring water sample from the source to our laboratory, and by using equipment there in the laboratory, we were analyzing, say, these water samples for presence of physical, chemical, and microbiological contaminants. But now time has changed, and there are many kits which are available in the market, and this process of bringing water from the source to laboratory is now changing. And see, I participated in a study which was recommended by National Green Tribunal, and we studied efficacy of reverse osmosis processes. And you know that in reverse osmosis process we lose almost 40 to 60% of water. So a recommendation by NGT in that judgment was that we should say all this municipal corporation, or even for that matter Gram Panchayat, before supplying water or while supplying water, should also include data on water quality they are supplying to the consumers. It means that we are now giving due importance to water quality and water safety. So now we have to use the old technique of colorimetry, that how can we read the change in color by using mobile phones. So these techniques are emerging. So I would urge you to use upcoming techniques to find out that how can we use the available processes or analytical techniques so that the optimized solution can emerge. One more thing I would like to also inform about leak detection, because this is very close to me. See, what happened in Nagpur, we have recently installed about 35 to 40 kilometer long MS mild steel pipeline, which is having diameter of 23 mm. it means 2.3 meter of diameter. Unfortunately, after say installation of these pipelines recently, 1 month back, we detected leaks in this pipeline, and these leaks were, yeah, of course, man-made. Farmers whose land the pipeline is going through, they have say punctured the pipeline, and unfortunately, Nagpur Municipal Corporation, and for that matter, the Orange City Water, who is the operator in Nagpur, couldn't even detect the leak, and we have lost so much of water, and water also got contaminated. So we are repairing and investing almost 10 crore of rupees in say detecting leaks, even finding out the solution to repair it. It means that we need easy solution to identify the leaks, and without replacing the pipeline, how can we detect and then even change and then repair it? So these are few of the say in-field solution. I have many such say experience because I have widely traveled nook and corner of India, right from Jammu Kashmir to Lakshadweep, and I can enumerate say several such challenges. But we look forward to a very innovative solution which can say improve say efficiency of water supply. So that's from my side. Thanks. Over to you, Professor Chinnasamy.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Pawan. I would like to call upon next with Dr. Fawzia, basically to introduce like what is the relevance of these challenges, that the three challenges that we have shortlisted for the participants, so that they know that why are we focusing more in depth. What is your call on the relevance of these topics in India? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pennan. I think the first and foremost thing, I would like to mention is that while we are talking, we also know that water has joined gold and oil on the Wall Street to be traded as a commodity, right? So water, definitely we should start considering it, of course, a social good, but an economic good. And anything that's getting traded on the Wall Street means it has already become a scarce resource. So since it has become a scarce resource, obviously we need to look for ways and means to use it judiciously. Now, using it judiciously, when I say, of course, primarily three sectors, we are looking at industry, agriculture, and we are looking at domestic sector. Now, India, we know that we already have about 85% of our fresh water use goes for agriculture. So, and the National Water Mission has been talking about 20% water use efficiency for a while. It's almost a decade that we have been talking about that. So the relevance, first of all, is that if we really want to optimize on the water resource, then we need to measure the problem. And to measure the problem, you need to look for more advanced ways of measuring it. So herein the digital technology comes in, as in what is the soil moisture, what is the irrigation schedule that has been there, smart meters to monitor what is the water that is being applied to the agriculture field. So different kinds of, climate smart agriculture also. When is it going to rain? How much amount of rain is going to happen? How does farmer decide how much to? Our farmers aren't educated. So how can we really have applications, whether they are mobile-based applications, which a farmer can use simple applications which a farmer can use easily. So a lot of these things, how can he plant crops based on the water availability in that region? So a lot of these things will come. The next thing that I would say in terms of domestic water use also, how do our utilities at their level, and at the same time, I think even at our household level, how can we use water efficiently? So I think we already, Ishita had earlier mentioned that 40% of non-revenue water is there. So why is it that we have 40% non-revenue water? SCADA system is there, but we don't really have SCADA system everywhere. So what are the other techniques that we can really apply for measuring the water losses that are happening? Also trying to map the network, like what percentage of our households are metered, what are not metered, which meters are working effectively, why is it not working effectively? At a household level also, we have about 13% of water that we lose through leakages, within the household. So how can people get to know about it? So that's another thing that needs to be really looked at in terms of, water use efficiency at the domestic level that is there. And finally, I would also like to talk about the safe water that we're talking. And I think Dr. Pawan already mentioned about it. For air quality, we have digital display. For water quality, we do not have digital display. So how can we really think of having digital display for water quality as well? There's so much of data that is available. Data analytics is another thing, we have water being governed by multiple organizations. So we have the Ministry of Jal Shakti that is there, and then we have the Ministry of Environment and Forest that is there, and then we have the Municipal Corporation, the Ministry of Urban Development. So there are many organizations who are producing data related to water. How can all this data be sort of analyzed in such a way to produce relevant information for decision making for the government? That's another very important area that needs to be really looked at. One more thing, like for instance, nearest water point. We know that this is the nearest toilet or this is the nearest bus stop. How do we know that which is the nearest water source which is there for me? Again, trust in the utility. We don't really trust our utility, and that's why the RO problem, which Dr. Pawan was mentioning about. We just assume that the water that is coming on our tap needs to go through RO before consumption. So at the household level, what are the digital or what are the simple technology that can be put in place where people know about what is the quality of water? And one last point here I will make is on water footprint calculator. A lot of water footprint calculator which are there, they actually they look at more developed countries perspective. We really don't have anything which looks at perspective like developing country, where you use buckets for taking bath, or you wash utensils using your hands. So simple water calculator which can help people budget their water or audit their water at a household level. So that's another thing. So these are the areas I would say which probably need a lot of attention. And with that, I'll stop. I think I've already spoken quite a bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fawzia. We'll come back.
Keep their video on, all the panelists, if you don't mind, so that people can see your lots.
Thank you, Fawzia. We'll come back on that same note in the second and third agenda item. IIT
Hello, can you hear me? I'm sorry, Dr. Pennan, I was not able to hear the second part.
I think, Dr. Pennan, if you are having a problem in bandwidth, then you can switch on to audio. That is fine. I think maybe there is a bandwidth problem. Yeah.
Sure. Mr. Nandakumar, I was asking to give your experience on the relevance of these three challenges that we have identified for the participants, so that they know like how to fine tune their challenges. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, the first, I think, problem statement, if I can put it that way, is digital water management. So what I'm seeing is, from the application point of view, if a project has to be taken up in a particular geography, the first thing that the person in charge does is, amongst many things, is find out the water quality himself, collect samples, take it to a lab, take a decision based on the water quality. Why can't we have a database where people just log in and find out what it is? And it will save so much time and effort and money in terms of project management if digital data, real-time, authentic and accurate data is available for people to take up any kind of intervention, whether it's a public enterprise or a private housing society or whatever it is. So instant availability of data, real-time data on water can be extremely useful for several applications. And I think the one aspect of metering water, which I come to know in households, is that it has brought down consumption by 35 to 50%. The simple task of metering household water consumption. So information itself can make dramatic improvements in terms of our conservation efforts. The lack of knowledge is what is probably, holding us back in terms of applying technologies or getting the benefits of it. But information today takes little while. And as Dr. Pawan was saying, if you take a sample, send it to a lab, get the result, it's time consuming by the time the effect of it is gone. What is needed is, can we look at low cost sensors, something that can be used by anybody, school children or college students or households, and real-time monitoring online through potentiometric or colorimetric kind of sensing, which can populate the database that we are looking for across geographies of the country, all the way from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and west to east. If for every location, if you're able to click on a Google map and get the water quality information, and which can be acted upon, that would be of a great benefit to the country. It will make an impact on the health and well-being of people, because many of the health-related issues are related to water. Lack of information affects people's health, and there's huge amount of money that is spent on medical care. Plus, people lose employment. Children don't end up going to school. There's a huge amount of losses that the nation suffers purely because information on water is not available. So I would encourage the participants of this hackathon to focus on how they can get real-time, accurate information at a low cost as frequently as possible at the spot, and make it available for anybody to use. This could also generate a lot of interdependent, interdisciplinary problem solving, because almost every industry, whether taking power or energy or foods, is all dependent on water. Water is life. So a database or digital water that we can make available for the people can make a dramatic impact on many sectors of our country and industry. So this is on the first part. Also the talk about distribution losses, 40 to 50% NRW that we've been hearing. What I've come to know is it's not just the clean water that is wasted. There's a lot of leakage in wastewater, sewage, as well as effluents. Now, this has multiple problems. One is the leakage pollutes the groundwater. At the same time, if they have leaking sewage lines during monsoon, they get flooded with storm water, overloading these sewage treatment plants. So it's a multiple interrelated set of problems that we'll be tackling. Most of these pipelines are age-old. They are underground. If the leak happens somewhere, the water pops up somewhere else. It's very difficult to trace the source of the leak. And by the time anybody can act on it, huge amount of water is wasted. And since it's so messy, nobody wants to get into it. But there are interesting solutions today that I know. There are tethered robots which can go into the pipelines. They can take photographs. They can give you real-time information of early stage defects that can happen. A kind of crack on the pipe, which if you leave it like that, it could develop into a leak. So idea is not just to detect the leak, but how can we prevent leakages? How can we anticipate what is going wrong in the pipelines? And also, if the same robot can do a patchwork, not just giving information, it can put a band-aid or a tape or something. These things are possible today. And this information can be then digitized. Obviously, it will be a digital information, and it can be used to predict leakages tomorrow and take preventive action. So these are areas where people could focus on. And coming to the safe and sustained drinking water, its need cannot be overstated. Okay, over 700 million people, I don't know, it could be far more, who are affected in India because of lack of clean drinking water. And several traditional approaches are focused only on the treatment and how do we give clean water to people. But what we are seeing is the sustainability of these treatment processes or technologies is also a question mark. Many of them release water which is almost devoid of any minerals. There are cases where the groundwater exploitation is so high that reject water management becomes a problem, because once you treat the water, we don't know what to do with the reject. There's a lot of action that can be taken on how to manage the reject water better. Can we handle the energy saving? Because the energy footprint of some of these treatment plants are very high. And so when we look at sustainability, the ease of maintenance, many of these plants are put up with a lot of expectation, but it becomes a challenge to maintain them. So how do we bring in IoT-enabled maintenance, and can there be some kind of ease of maintenance and long life of the components that are used in these, and can it be affordable? end of the day, the cost of the water through these treatment plants must be such that people can afford to pay. So affordability, recyclability of the water that is discharged, and maximizing the permeate and retaining essential minerals. I mean, there are multiple dimensions that can be worked upon for each of these, which will have a direct benefit in terms of people's well-being, in terms of all those problems that I mentioned before about children not going to school or employment opportunities missed. And the women folk of the household can actually take up some other activity. Clean water is provided. I'm told most of the people, women and the girl children spend a lot of their time trying to collect water for their own day-to-day use. If that time is released, they can do enormous amount of economic activity, which can transform those societies, and they can end up paying for water. So though we presume water is a free good, indirectly we are spending a huge amount of money in just providing safe water somehow to various people. So there is a lot of hidden, I think, benefit that can be realized. This is what I would think of at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nandakumar. I'd like to call upon Simon with his international experience in this, and especially with Indian context. How do you see these challenges more relevant? And any specific inputs you would like to give the participants?
Thank you so much, Mr. Pennan. I just really delighted, first of all, to be here. Thanks for the invitation, but also really happy to hear all the great inputs from the experts. I agree basically with everything that's been said. And many of the issues that have been brought up are the same kinds of issues that we're also looking at and focusing on in Denmark, and have been also for some while back, but of course with obvious differences depending on the context. Just a few very short things. I mean, when we speak about digital, one of the things that my civil servant colleagues from back home in Denmark have noticed whenever they're in India is the interest in using sensor-based technology, satellite images and so on, as proxies, as alternatives to traditional water quality sampling. That's something that we would definitely like to learn more about, and could be an interesting topic for students and I, as I see it. When it comes to leakages, also, I mean, India is a fascinating place now in the sense that a lot of infrastructure is being rolled out in these years. I mean, in Denmark, it's a lot of retrofitting old, often 100-year-old pipes. But here we actually have the chance to look at the best, bringing the best technologies and solutions from the start, as part of, for example, the Indian government's Jal Jeevan mission that's bringing drinking water to rural areas. That's really an opportunity to think about the best solutions from tabula rasa scenario. And then finally on drinking water, also something that's really having a lot of attention in Denmark, finding more and more contaminants, unfortunately, in groundwater that we use exclusively for drinking water. So I think here there's a common interest as well in both countries, and connecting also with the digital and seeing how can we use, how can we do mass screenings of groundwater to monitor for a variety of different contaminants, sort of finding what we didn't know was there, and possibly also using machine learning to have informed guesses about what the risks are based on the proxies and so on. So lots of opportunity there. And then for the broader context, I just wanted to thanks from the beginning from Mr. Ramanan for the nice introduction and mentioning the Green Strategic Partnership. So from the Danish point of view and from the embassy, we see, of course, almost everything we do between Denmark and India under this hat of the Green Strategic Partnership, which is a completely new and a first for India, having a partnership with another country focusing specifically on the green areas. And under this hat, we work government to government with a collaboration coming up now with the Ministry of Jal Shakti and the Danish Environment Ministry, focusing on support for the Jal Jeevan mission, and especially looking at water leakages, efficient drinking water distribution, and other topics. But we also work city to city in Udaipur. We have an urban engineering lab in Goa and a city to city cooperation with the city of Tumkur in Karnataka. And then also on research and the commercial area, we're active to trying to bind everything together. And that very much, I think, reflects the Danish approach that we also want to bring to this water challenge, is the triple helix model of close collaboration between government, universities, and companies, so that the assets of all the different kinds of actors are brought together for the best possible solutions and benefit of society as a whole. And that's also one of the things we would like to offer the students and the young entrepreneurs participating, is providing that access to great professors, great companies, public authorities, both in India and in Denmark, so that the solutions can be showcased and hopefully scaled out and spread up for the benefit of everyone. So thanks again a lot for this being in this great initiative, and I'm looking forward to following it and seeing the proposals come in and being selected. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon. And to sum up for the first agenda, like what was the relevance? It was great to hear from the panelists on how the data collection methods, unfortunately, are historic and some are outdated in India, and how digital smart monitoring could help solving these issues, and also having a holistic view, not only for data for agriculture, but also for consumptions, industry, and also health. Health is a very, very important factor. And these would actually lead to a better water footprint calculation and more information for policymakers. At the end of the day, we would like the challenges that have been discussed and the entrepreneurs that work on it to find solutions that become recommendations to the government. And for that, I think collection of these data, et cetera, in a more scientific and smart method would help. To add on to this, recently there was this Asian Development Bank outlook. So it's basically a document which shows where Asian Development Bank wants to invest in India in the next 10 years for water. And I was one of the authors for a chapter where we clearly mentioned that data is still a scarce component. And because of that, we don't know like how much we could invest, because most of these investments are loans or return. They do need a return after a period. So it is best to start with, before identifying these problems in India, to get a better system of data collection, and that is the first digital smart planning and collection of data. And then we also looked upon some of these information, how it could be readily available to the public, not only to the government agencies. So once it is in a digital format, some of these solutions and data that you collect and work on could be seamlessly getting into the public's hand, so that they know how much water they use and what are the issues, if any, surrounding the water. So to move on to the next agenda, because of the time, we'd like to club the agenda 2 and 3, which is basically what is your scope of these innovation challenges, not only in Indian scale, but also in international agenda. And also, what are your 1 or 2 specific inputs? I'm going to ask the panelists quickly to give 1 or 2 specific inputs for entrepreneurs addressing these challenges, because that would give them more focused direction in how to bring it from lab to scale or lab to market, the solutions. So again, I would like to go through this round. So let's take Pawan, Mr. Pawan in the first hand. If you could spare like a minute or two on giving specific inputs for entrepreneurs regarding these challenges.
Yeah, I think it has been elaborated very well what are the different challenges, but it's easy to say than doing it practically. You know that in research institutes like ours, we also spend a lot of time in innovating something and taking it to the field, and you know that it's very, very difficult to take to the field, but that's fine. I'll just give one example, and then close my comment. See what happened if you use reverse osmosis membrane processes, we literally remove all the minerals from water. So it lacks mineral. So the few startup which are coming out with these minerals, which can be added to our water so that it becomes rich in minerals. So this is one thing which can be thought, which can even be thought of out of box. So we have to look forward to such challenges. Second option is, see, for leak detection, we normally use, say, developed countries normally use sonic stick, in which we use, say, sound wave to determine where the leak is. Unfortunately, we have so much of background noise to the range of, say, 60 to 70 decibel that such equipment are not being used. So we can alternatively use another solution through which we can which can be relevant to India. One more thing which I would like to add is, say, suppose if we come out with some solution which can have a practical importance, we can definitely deploy it to the field through Jal Jeevan mission, because there's a call for this R&D proposal by Jal Jeevan mission, and we will be closely involved with that. And then we are selecting some villages where many of these problems which have been narrated here are existing. So we can take the solution to the field if researchers or startup are coming out with. So yeah, these are few things which I would like to help in identifying scope of innovation in these challenge domains. So over to you, Dr. Chinnasamy.
Thank you, Mr. Pawan. I'd like to call upon Fawzia, please, to.
Thank you, Dr. Pennan. Few very specific things I would like to mention. One is in the agriculture sector, we have introduced micro irrigation. But still, like when you look at the water that's consumed by our crops is like 2 to 3 times, especially the water guzzling crops that we are using, whether it's rice or sugarcane or cotton. So there I would say, even when we have switched to micro irrigation, still our farmers do not really apply adequate amount of water to their crop. So somewhere around that, there is definitely a scope for innovation wherein, whether it's metering or monitoring, that can be provided. The second is around soil moisture. So people have done some innovation in terms of tensiometers and all, but still you could look at even drone-based, if you're looking at drone-based measurement, monitoring of soil moisture, or otherwise there is a scope on soil moisture as to when the farmer should irrigate their field. The other one that the government of India is promoting Jal Shakti Abhiyan, and we have the Catch the Rain program that is there. And we are talking about rainwater harvesting, both surface as well as, groundwater recharge that we are looking at here. So something around, groundwater monitoring. So dynamic groundwater monitoring, how that can be done. There are sensors available for that, but how that can be optimized. Also mapping a water repository. We have already, ruined a lot of them, but overall mapping a water repository in India, including wetlands and other like ponds and lakes, which can actually be, so that information again would help in terms of, making the scheme more robust, and also providing a smart dashboard, I would say, to the policymakers to even monitor the impact of their work. So in the previous Jal Shakti Abhiyan, for instance, nobody can actually say how much water was recharged. So whenever we take up something like this, there should be smart monitoring and management system and a dashboard creation for the government and the policymaker. So that's the other thing. The third thing is around the Jal Jeevan mission that I wanted to really talk about was on reliable water supply. So when we are talking about 55 liters of water on a tap, how do we really go about ensuring the reliability in supply of that water, both in terms of quantity as well as quality? So can we have some low-cost methods in these rural areas which can actually work on that? So these are few quick points that I wanted to really make at this point in time. So in terms of scope and inputs, which are there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fawzia. I'd like to call upon Mr. Nandakumar on his expertise on scope, and especially the entrepreneurs, what they should be looking for and specific points. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Pennan. With respect to scope, I would encourage the startups and students to look at see, water as such, we think is freely available and there's little value. I mean, it's considered free almost. But water plus data can give tremendous value. And there are places where lack of information on water is hugely expensive. So, for example, a hospital or some kind of a big project where information is money and time. So if they can look at those areas, high impact areas where data on water can make a big difference. Leakage detection is one such example, or lack of awareness of contamination of fluoride and arsenic in a timely manner is a big example. So these are high impact areas. If they can look at those and work on those, and looking for inspiration, I know that biomimicry could be something that could be looked at. I know that there are organizations which have looked at the cow's digestive systems to create an STP, and a cacti or a desert beetle to convert atmospheric water into moisture into water, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of examples that are available in nature. We can just try to draw upon that. I'm sure they will be able to come out with wonderful, sustainable ideas. But that's the third point I want to stress. Any idea that they bring out sustainable, look, energy, carbon footprint, water footprint, and overall cost. So if any of those elements are missing, then we are creating a new problem. And trying to solve one problem, we may create a new problem. They can look at an all-around sustainable kind of a technology. That would be great. And specifically for entrepreneurs, I would encourage them to look at the market size and who are the customers, who's going to pay. Many times we are very confident about our own ideas, and we think that because we think it's great, customer also will think it's great. But most of the time I found they struggle to find who the customer is, who's going to pay, and the beneficiary is usually a different person. The beneficiary doesn't pay. He only enjoys the benefit, but somebody has to pay for the solution. So that thought process has to come in. What is the social benefit, social impact, and who will get it, and who's going to pay for it, and why will he pay for it? What is the problem I'm solving for that person who's going to pay for the solution? If some of these thoughts they can bring in early in the day, it can pave the way for a sustainable startup enterprise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nandakumar, especially on the point of working smart in picking high impact areas, because I think that can be tied up to the customer base and the beneficiary. So with that, I would like to call Mr. Simon to give the comments before we wrap it up. Simon?
Yes, thanks. I mean, I just also wanted to encourage the participants to have a good look at the relevant government programs. So the Jal Jeevan mission has been mentioned a number of times, but also the Smart City program and the National Water Mission when it comes to water efficiency. Because a lot of information is actually available in the public domain on the challenges and the objectives. And there's a scope, I think, to look at what it is in demand from the government side and try to fill in some of those blanks. And a more general comment is, I think that we sometimes need to remember how regulation and innovation are tightly linked, in the sense that innovation comes from regulation, from the fact that we are forced to deliver at a certain level, and that spurs creativity. But regulation also follows from information, and that transparency that many of the panelists have mentioned is something that could also be very interesting for projects. Is that how can we collect data automatically on water use, water quality, even on the performance of water utilities, and make that available in the public domain so that it will encourage good performance and water efficiency, both from public and the private side. That's it for me. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. So thanks a lot to all the panelists for bringing out the more specifics on focus and scope for the participants, especially on creating small scale, small budget, or related to small farmers, micro irrigation, be it micro irrigation or identifying what is the nutrients that work at that level. And most importantly, just please don't stop with data, but also try to complete it by establishing a dashboard or something that could be readily used by the public, the government agencies, or any NGOs who want to work on your data. And more important, the working smart, as in pick high impact areas where water plus data could lead to a very significant change in the mindset or even the beneficiary on who's going to use the water. With this, to conclude, I would also like to add that in the past 3 weeks, we had this challenge being done. Is that make sure that the data that you bring in through your smart metering, your smart technologies, have a component to be verified. How is your data better than the government or available data? So which means, I think Simon also pointed that using help understand the uncertainty in your data. Every data has its own uncertainty and bias. So try to make sure that it is first accepted how much it is, and please make sure that there is a system to bring down the uncertainty and errors associated with the data. With this, I think I would like to pass it on to Ishita to send it out for the concluding remarks and end of the stream. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Pennan, for this wonderful for moderating this session. We got a lot of insights into how the students and the entrepreneurs should be responding to the three challenges that we were focusing on today. And I'm sure that all the people who've logged on to this call today must have got a lot of ideas and also insight into the areas that they need to focus on, and also the requirement of the country and the requirement of the government to deal with the challenges in the water-related areas that we are facing. I would like to thank Mr. Nandakumar, Dr. Fawzia, Dr. Pawan, Professor Pennan, and of course Simon for joining us today, and of course Mr. Ramanan, who is the mission director of Atal Innovation Mission and has always been with us and encouraging us for trying out new things and constantly being the backbone of all the initiatives that happen at Atal Innovation Mission. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Ramanan, would you want to say a few last words or share some thoughts?
Yeah. Thanks, Ishita. And first of all, I think this has been a fascinating discussion. I really want to compliment Dr. Pennan for very astutely moderating the session and directing the attention of the various panelists to issues of great importance. And also, I want to thank all the panelists for their wonderful insights. I mean, I have taken down a whole lot of notes. These are 2 sets of notes I have taken. And I think, there is so much to be deliberated on. And from my point of view, this is many students, entrepreneurs may think, oh, I want to do the next Flipkart, I want to do the next Ola, I want to do the next Oyo, and so on and so forth. But just imagine, if you don't have water supply for one day in your house, if that unfortunate situation happens, and I hope it never happens, what happens to you? What happens to your family? What happens to the people around you? And this is a problem which is not very far off if we don't start looking at this very actively. And there is a whole lot of industry, there is a whole lot of companies, there is a whole lot of, the world is dependent upon us addressing all the challenges that were so beautifully listed out by various people. One is how do you ensure, and especially in a country like India, where 44% of our country is agri-economy based. And as Dr. Fawzia said, 85% of the water, fresh water, is used in agriculture. Now, how do you, and we have been constantly battling for 20% plus efficiency in the water management. Now, how do you ensure that you detect, you prevent, and you predict waste of water and leakage of water across the country? And that's going to be of enormous impact for our country. And now you have all these technologies which they talked about, sensor technologies, satellite technologies, imaging technologies. We have technologies related to big data analytics. You have AI technologies, you have dashboards, you have digital transformations and technology which has become affordable, accessible, and available. So how do you leverage all of this to create exciting new innovations, whether it be in precision agriculture, whether it be in water management, whether it be in water metering and monitoring, whether it be in assessing the water quality, or whether it be in providing dashboards and mapping as was suggested, so that you are able to know exactly where the water sources are, what is the quality of the water there, what needs and what interventions have to be done in order to do that. In all of this, technology, including robotics, as Simon mentioned, and drone technology was also mentioned in terms of surveillance. Irrigation. How do you ensure precision agriculture? If in a country like Israel, they are able to actually export water by absorbing it from the moisture. And Dr. Nandakumar talked about biomimicry, which is a very, very important thing. When we're talking of sustainable technologies, we just have to look at nature. Nature does so much of optimization. So why do we not also incorporate that optimization using AI techniques and using technologies to be able to conserve water and as well as be able to sustain our planet? So this is an exciting area, and I think, and as Dr. Nandakumar also pointed out, you have to have a business sense from the point of view of how am I going to ensure that somebody is going to pay, and many people are going to pay because if they don't have water, the industry doesn't have water, the people don't have water, or the governments are scant or scarce of water, they're all going to pay for this. So you will have sources of funding, but you have to make your innovation that much more relevant, and you have to do your little homework in being able to say, how do I make my solution to the needs of the market, to the needs of the industry, and to the needs of the people from a social point of view. So it has been a delightful conversation. I want to once again thank all the people who have participated, Dr. Pennan, Simon, Dr. Fawzia, Dr. Nandakumar, as well as Dr. Did I miss out anybody?
Dr. Pawan Kumar.
Dr. Pawan Kumar, sorry. Yeah. And thank you, Ishita, for enabling this, and to the Atal Innovation Mission team, which has been working in the background. And I know that they put in a lot of effort in making this particular initiative and hoping it will be a success. And I do want to ask every one of the, I understand most of our incubators from Atal Innovation Mission have logged onto this call. Please ensure that all the startups working in this area respond to this challenge, as well as you run challenges within your environment, the ecosystem that you are in, the university that you're in, so that you are able to make an outreach to all those people so that they can start responding to this challenge. I think people should become aware of it. There are many innovative, capable students who will be willing to participate in it. And I do hope that every one of you gets a chance to be able to participate in this challenge and contribute to solutions that are required by humanity. Thank you so much. Thank you once again. Have a great evening. And I do hope that all of you are continuing to be safe in these COVID-19 circumstances.
Thank you.
Thank you.